Well, hello, my friends. Welcome back to another episode of Legacy Farm, the podcast. I'm your host, Jace Young, and today's topic of discussion is this: God's long game. Like most of you, as a business owner, I struggle with things not happening in my life fast enough, right? We are very impatient, just kind of my nature, honestly. A majority of the people that I know, especially people in the, entrepreneurial world and things like that, we're all impatient, right? We want things to happen fast. And I don't think it's at any of our own faults here for thinking that. I think we're trained and conditioned to think this way growing up. And especially with social media and the ability to buy things quickly and everything now, I can only imagine how impatient my kids are going to be as they get older and things like that. Now, today's lesson, guys, I was going through and stacking this topic around just some things not happening in my life fast enough and trying to really essentially have a conversation with God and try to figure out why is this happening and things like that. And what I came up with was that there's only one game in this life that truly exists and that was truly created by God, and that is the long game. And what do I mean by that? When I left the banking industry back in 2016, that was almost just over 8 years ago. It was August 21st of 2016, and it's September 3rd of 2024 at the time of this recording of this podcast here. And anyway, so that over 8 years ago. And when I left, I didn't have anything, guys. I mean, if you've listened to other podcasts and everything, like me and Rachel, we had nothing. We had 2 babies at home, and I had $4,000 in savings, and I had no plan. And we had one source of income, which was Rachel's at that time. And, so we got thrown into financial uncertainty big time. So based on those variables there, how fast do you think I wanted things to happen? How fast did I need results and things like that? Now, the reality is I needed things to happen pretty fast. Now, what happens here though, and the problem with this is when we need things to happen fast, we start taking different actions that serve short-term needs, not God's long-term plan. All right, does that make sense? That's where I'm getting the lesson from inside today's podcast. That's why it's called God's long game. Because when we try to satisfy those short-term pleasures or short-term desires or short-term just, quick wins there, but deep down, we know we're avoiding the hard, tough decisions that we need to make that will benefit us long-term here. We're essentially not following God's path for us. And I have done that countless times. And every time I did do that, yes, it felt good right off the bat because I may have gotten what I wanted immediately, but then there were repercussions or costs to pay later. The other example of this though too is 2016, 2017, 2018, I really struggled financially and trying to find my path and find out how I could serve the industry and just figure out where's God wanting me to go. You know what I mean? Through that time though, I created a lot of problems, right? So for example, back taxes, things like that. Those are things you're going to run into as an entrepreneur, especially in your earlier years. I do not know one entrepreneur who has not suffered from that or went through that phase of this journey. One of the most frustrating things is when I actually started making money and having some profits here, 2019, 2020, most of the profits I made in those years went to clean up the mistakes that I made from short-term decisions in 2016, 2017, and 2018. Okay, you follow me here? So what I'm trying to get you to see here is if you are at a stage in your life where you are sick and tired of having to basically deal with past decisions, you need to really look at and analyze those decisions just like I am now, realizing that, hey, yeah, those are just short-term, quick decisions there that were only going to last a short while, right? And they did, and they got me through that time, but then there was cost to pay later, right? And the other example I'll use here too is just like building Legacy Farmer and building our software Farmer Metrics. Farmer Metrics is definitely by far the most challenging project I've ever taken on in my life because the number of variables that come into play building a software, it is mind-blowing. The number of challenges that can happen, the number of problems that can exist from just doing a simple update, guys. I have a completely different perspective now for the other softwares that we use on our phone to where we get mad if there's lag in a button not performing fast enough or something like that, or Google search not, popping up notifications or our search results fast enough. Like it's ridiculous. And I just have a completely different respect for software engineers out there and people that have built softwares because there's so much time and energy and investment that goes into those things there. And yes, from my point of view, it's extremely frustrating when things don't work perfectly all the time. But the reality is when you're building a business here and you're doing something new and you're trying to basically impact an industry in a pretty big way, like we're trying to do inside a Legacy Farm, where things are going to break, you're going to make mistakes, you're going to figure out, along the journey, some things that work really well and some things that don't work. And guess what? This is a part of God's long game for your life. And so I spent a lot of years avoiding that game, right? I just did. It's like I wanted the devil's short game that just gave me short-term profits or short-term pleasures or whatever that is, just fill that immediate need. All the while, yes, it made me feel good there, but I was avoiding the long-term game that God intends for all of us to live, because there's no short-term game in this life, right? That's why I said there's only one true game that actually exists created by God, and that is the long game here. And the more you avoid following that game, the more you avoid trying to listen to him and just trust the process, even though in the moment it may be scary as shit. And trust me, I totally get that. But long term, though, you have to understand that he has a plan for you, just like he has a plan for me and everybody else in this world. And that the more we respect his plan and we trust his voice and trust that journey, the better things are going to be, guys. And yes, there's going to be some ups and downs in that journey, and there's going to be some adversity that you're going to have to overcome. And guess what? It's all part of the plan. This is why you have to settle in and realize that, hey, you are running a multi-decade, race here of your life, and nothing great is going to happen in your life short term. There's going to be short-term consequences that you are going to have to make and short-term sacrifices in order to fulfill the long-term game that God has planned for you. And the more you recognize this and understand this, it's just like me building Legacy Farmer on our software. I have to understand that's a 10-year game plan. It does not happen overnight. It's not going to happen next year. We have several projects and things that we need to get done, and it's just going to take time. So settle in, be patient, take a deep breath, and just trust God's process here and really dive in and just accept this long game of your life that he has planned for us. There's no rush to this either. We're all going to end up at the same place at the end of this life. And so what's the rush in it anyway? Might as well just accept what God has planned for you and just settle in and try to enjoy the journey while you're on it as well. So I'm speaking to myself there as I'm saying that, because I struggle with things just like you guys do as business owners, and trying to build something great and something meaningful for your family and something meaningful for your life, right? Really, that's the number one thing that drives me is I want to do something meaningful. I want to, when I meet my maker and everything like that, I just looking for basically 2 words: well done. Like, did I do a good job? Anyways, guys, that's what we got for today's podcast. Hopefully it was a valuable topic for you. Definitely was for me as I was working through some of this stuff this morning. And if you haven't done this type of internal work, guys, I would encourage you to do that and spend, at least one time per day. And typically I do it in the morning when it's still dark out and it's nice and it's peaceful and it's quiet in the house and I don't have kids running around everywhere. But that's where I can try to truly connect with God the best and everything like that, and take away lessons like I did today. So anyways, guys, hope you found value in today's message, and we'll catch you on the next podcast.